All right. Okay, the stream is going. I am
Okay.
here in my costume. I mean, I even put on the face paint and everything, so
Mm-hmm.
that was a pain, but
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and share the video. Share the video.
awesome. So how's your day been?
Oh, not much. I just had to do some errands today, and I had to mow the lawn today.
Ah,
Yeah, before it gets real cold.
yeah, it's understandable.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, let's see.
Okay. Man, I look really bizarre, don't I? I'm excited because I just got this new mask. My other one was split in the middle and it was hurting my
Oh, that
nose.
sucks.
And I
Mm-hmm.
had it for like 4 years and I wore it for almost every year for some kind of costume or other, except for last year. And
Yeah.
I found this when I was trying to get some face paint for my eyes, so all you see is my eyes. And they had this, I will say, normally I would not spend that much on a mask, but I will say this is
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable.
I even found this plague doctor's mask that I found. Um, that it would actually fit over my glasses.
Oh, I saw a Plague Doctor mask and I was like so tempted. But I was like, it was either that or this, and I didn't have money for both. I also got to try a Wednesday burger. It was actually not bad.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet.
I liked it. It was actually pretty
Mm-hmm.
good. I still haven't even had the, I don't know what they called this. It's some kind, it's part of their Halloween special.
Yeah, the Adams Family special.
Yeah, it's a drink. Well, not drink. It's a
Some kind of milkshake.
yeah. I think there's coffee in it because I'm feeling a little hyper after drinking a little. Or it could be just overwhelmed with coffee. I'm not sure, but tastes like there's at least a little bit of coffee in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a shame my hat doesn't actually fit on my head when I wear my headset. That's like the only thing I can't wear with my when I wear my headset.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anytime you're reading, I'll mute so then I'm not disturbing you in any way if I cough or anything like that.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just browsing, seeing which one I'm gonna be reading first.
All right.
Gotta find a real good one here. I think I might do uh the Raven in the middle, but I'm also thinking about possibly doing Sleepy Hollow at the end of it.
Oh, okay. I like that.
But we'll just see how long you're gonna be streaming.
Oh, I'll be streaming for a while.
Hmm.
So that you don't have to worry about how long I'll stream. I usually stream until well, until I like pass out. Until I get tired. That's
Yeah.
usually how long my streams are.
Hmm.
So Yeah, there's no time limit.
Awesome. Alrighty, let's see. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and get started.
All right.
Welcome everyone to the spooky story time with Skulldagger. Today I will be reading Edgar Allan Poe and other numerous other stories, but I will be saving for the best for last. Shall we get started? The spirits of the dead. Thy soul shall find itself alone. Mid dark thoughts of the great tombstone. Not one of all the crowd to pry to thy hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude, which is ness. For then, the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death round thee, and their will shall overshadow thee. Be still. The night, though clear, shall frown, and the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heavens, with light like hope to mortals given, but their red orbs without beam. To thy weariness this shall seem as a burning and a fever, which would cling to thee forever. Now our thoughts thou shalt not banish. Now there are visions near to vanish. From thy spirit shall they pass. No more than like dew drop from the grass. The breeze, the breath of God is still, and the mist upon the hill shadowy, shadowy, yet unbroken. It is a symbol and a token, how it hangs above the trees, a mystery of all mysteries. There you have it. Next, we will read To Octavia. When wit and wine and friends have met, and laughter crowns the feasted hour, in vain I struggle to forget. Still does my heart confess thy power, and fondly turn to thee. But Octavia, do not strive to rob my heart, though soothes its pain, the mournful hope that every throb will make it break by thee. Next, we will read A Dream. In visions of the dark night, I have dreamed of joy departed, but a waking dream of life and light. Hate left me broken-hearted. Um, what is not a dream by day, to him those eyes are cast on things around him with a ray turned back upon the past. That holy dream, that holy dream, while all the world are driving. Faith cheered me as a lovely beam, a lonely spirit guiding. What thought that light, thou though storm and night, so trembled from afar? What could be purely bright, in truth, day star? Next, we will read Annabel Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in the kingdom by the sea, that a maiden that lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. She was a child, and I was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love. I am my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphim of heaven covet her and me. And that this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out a cloud by night, chilling my Annabel Lee. So that high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a solitude in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not so happy in heaven, were inventing her and me. Yes, that was a reason. All those men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came down of the cloud, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, or many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon ever beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I see the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night ties, I lay down by the side of my darling, my life, and my bride. In her sepulchre, by there by the sea, in her tomb by the side of the sea. Next one that we will read dreams. Oh, that my young life were a lasting dream. My spirit not awakened until the beam of the eternally shall bring the morrow. Yes, though that long dream were of hopeless sorrow, 'twere better than the cold reality of the waking life. To him those hot must be, and hate be still upon the lovely earth, and chaos of deep passion from his birth. But should it be that dream eternally continuing as dreams have been to me in my young boyhood, should it thus be given for folly still to hope for higher heaven? For I have revealed when the sun was bright, I the summer sky in dreams of living light and loveliness have left my very heart in gems of my imagining apart from mine own home, where brains that have been of mine own thought. What more could I have seen? 'Twas once and only once, and the while hour from my resemblance shall not pass. Some power or spell had bound me. 'Twas the chilling wind came o'er me into the night, was left behind its imagine on my spirit, or the moon shore of my slumbers in her lofty noon, too coldly, or the stars, however it was. That dream was as that night wind. Let it pass. I have been happy, though in a dream. I have been happy, but I love the theme, dreams, in their vivid coloring of light, as in that fleeting, shadowy, misty strife of semblance, of reality in which brings to his delirious eye more lovely things, paradise and love, and all our own, than yon hope in his sunniness hour hath known. Then we will take a moment for a little break. Whew, that was a little intense.
That
How did I do?
sounds good. So when you did the one with Annabelle Lee, is that supposed to be a sad story?
Kind of, yeah, but it was the only one that I know. Because
Oh yeah.
kind
No,
of
I
like
was just
more
kind of
kind of
curious.
like more like a gothic love kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of
I
like
was I
that.
was just like listening to the words, and I was just like, man, it sounds a little sad, but I didn't know how to make of it. So
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, because I knew one of the words was actually a little hard to pronounce.
that's okay. You're doing better
So,
than me.
yeah, because I had the book. All right, so let me see what else I can do here.
Ow! I keep jabbing my fan into my leg. Hey, baby cookie. Baby cookie says so much fire. How you doing, baby cookie? Don't mind the face paint. My mask has like fabric in it, so it makes me
Hmm.
get hot every now and again.
Right.
Ow.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
Shall we continue? Next, we will read The Sleeper. At midnight, in the month of June, I stand beneath the mystic moon, an opiate vapor, dewy dim, exiled from out her golden rim. and softly dripping, drop by drop, upon the quiet mountain top, steals drowsily and musically into the universal valley, and the rosemary nods upon the grave. The lily loads upon the wave, wrapping the fog about its breast. The ruins molder into rest, looking into the thin. See the lake, the constant slumber it seems to take, but would not, for the world awakes. All beauty sleeps, and lo, where lies Irene of her destinies. O lady bright, can it be right? This window open to the night, the wanton airs from the treetop, laughingly through the lattice drop, the bodiless airs in wizard rout, flint through thy chambers in and out, and wave the curtain's canopy so fitfully, so fiercely, upon the close and frigid lid, neath which thy slumbering soul lies hid, that o'er the floor and down the wall, like ghosts the shadows rise and fall. O lady dear, hast thou no fear? Why and what art thou dreaming here? Sure thou art come o'er far off seas, a wanderer to these garden trees. Strange is thy pallor, strange thy dress, strange above all thy length of trees, and this all solemn silence. The lady sleeps, oh may her sleep, which is enduring, so be deep. Heaven had her in its sacred keep. This chamber changed for more, one more, this bed for more, one more melancholy. I pray to God that she may lie forever with an unopened eye, while the dim sheeted ghosts go by. My love, she sleeps, oh may her sleep, as it lasting, so be deep. Soft may the worms above her creep. Far in this forest, dim and old, for her may some tall vault unfolded, some vault that oft hath flung its black and winged panels flooding back, triumphant o'er the crescent paws of her grand family funerals. Some Sopoche, remote alone against those portals she hath thrown. In childhood may either idle stone, some tomb from out those sounding door, she ne'er shall force an echoing more, thriving to think, poor child, the sin, it was the dead who groaned within thee. And it wasn't that creepy or not, but there'll be more to come. But now we will read to one in paradise. Thou wast all those to me, love, which for which my soul did pine. A green island in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all withered in fairy fruits and flowers, but all the flowers were mine. A dream too bright to last, a starry hope that didn't arise, but to be overcast. A voice from out the future cries, on and on, but o'er the past. My spirit hovering lies, mute, motionless, aghast. For alas, alas, with me, the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language, hold thy Sodom, thee to the sands above the shore. Shall bloom the thunder have blasted tree, or as the stricken eagle soar. And all my days of traces, and all my nightly dreams are where thy grey eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams, which the eternally dances. But what eternal streams! Now we will now take a short little break. Whew.
Yeah, I'm glad I mute while you're reading because I've had like several people honk their horns as someone's driving by. I'm like, are you serious right now?
I'm the exact same way because I would get semis going past my house.
Yeah, we don't usually get a whole lot of trucks, but because of it's that time of year, we get a lot of beet trucks for the sugar factory
Mm,
that go by our house.
right.
So, and then of course, you got people honking horns probably at the trucks.
Yeah, because one time we had the interstate blocked off for doing construction. We would have like over hundreds and hundreds of semis going past my house, and it would just like be crazy.
Oh, yeah, I believe
And
it.
half of them were like oversized loads.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Now we may continue. Next, we will read The Haunted Palace. In the greenest of all valleys, the good by good angels did tenant once a fair and stately palace. Radiant, the palace reared its head in the monarch's thoughts at domination. It stood there, never seemed spread opinion over fabric half so fair. Banners yellow, glorious golden, on its roof did float and flow. This, all this, was in an older time long ago. And every gentle air that tended in that sweet day, all around the ramparts, plumbed and pallid, the winged odor went away. Wanderers in that happy valley, through too numerous windows, saw spirits moving musically to the lute's well-tuned law, round about a throne where sitting poor Hydrogen, in state his glory well befitting, the ruler of the realm was seen, and all with pearl and ruby glowing was the fair palace door, through which it came flowing, 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 and sparkling evermore. A troop of echoes, which sweet duty was but to sing, and voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king. But evil things and robes of sorrow assailed the monarch's high estate. Ah, let us mourn, for ever, for never sore shall dawn upon him desolate. But round about his home the glory that blushed and bloomed is but a dim remembered story of the old time entombed. And travelers now within that valley thought through the red lighted windows we see vast forms that move fantastically in the discordant melody, well, like a ghastly rapid river through the pale door. The hideous the throng rush out forever and laugh, but smile no more. Next, we will read The Telltale Heart.
You still there?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. It was silent, so I was.
I was trying to time this right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it professionally. Here we are. True, nervous, very dreadfully nervous had I been, and am. But why will you say that I'm mad? The disease that sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all were the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heavens and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. But how, then, am I mad? Hearken, and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object that was none. Passion where there were none. I loved the old man. He never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembles that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film around over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madman knew nothing, but you shall have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceed, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night about midnight, I turned the latch on his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. And then, when I made it an opening sufficient from for my head, I put in A dark lantern, oh, closed, so that no light shroud out. And then I thrust into my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Ha! Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously, cautiously, for the hinges creak. And I undid in just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture's eye. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night just at midnight, but I find the eye always closed. And so it was impossible to do the work, for it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name with a haughty tone, and inquired how he shall pass the night. So you see, he would have a very profounded old man indeed to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked and up upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than unusually cautious in opening the door. A watch minute's hands moved so quickly than it did mine. Never before that the night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of the secrecy. I could secretly contain my feelings of triumph to think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and there not even to dream of my secret deeds of thought. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he had heard me, for he moved on the bed. Suddenly, as it started, now you may think I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch, with thick darkness, for the shutters were close fastened through fear of robbers. And so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it so steadily. I had my head in and was about to open the lantern, while my thumb slept upon the tin fastener, and the old man sprang up in the bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed, listening, just as I have done night after night, hawking to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of a mortal terror, as it was not a groan of pain or of grief. Oh no, it was a low, stiff sound arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged and awed. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, where the whole world slept, it had welled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I said I knew it well. I knew where the old man felt and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been laying awake ever since the first slight noise. When he had turned in the bed, his fear had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor. Or is it merely a cricket which has made a single chirp?" Yes, he has been trying to comfort himself of these suppositories, but he had found all in vain. All in vain, because death, in approaching him, has stalked with his black shadow before him, and enveloping the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the precisely shadow that caused him to feel, although he neither saw not heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very small crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like a thread of a spider, shot out from the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect districtless, dull blue, with the hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I have directed the ray as if by instinct, precisely upon the damp spot. And now have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over acuteness of the senses? Now, I said, there came upon to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as the watch makes in an enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. Increased did my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the eye increased. It grew quicker and quicker, and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I said, louder every moment. Did you mock me well? I have told you that I am nervous, so I am. And now, at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of the old house, so strange a noise that excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yes, so for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still, but the beating grew louder and louder. I thought the heart might burst. And now the new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man hour had come, and with a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once only. In an instant I dragged him to the floor, pulled the heavy bed over him, and then smiled gaily. To find the deed so far done, but for many minutes the heart beats on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it creases. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If still you think me mad, you would think so no longer would I describe the wise precautions I took in concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head, the arms, and the legs. And then I took 3 planks of the flooring of the chamber and disposed of between the scatolines, and then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cuttingly, that no human eye, would even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I have been too weary of that. A tub would have caught that. Ha ha! When I have made the ends of all these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight, as the bell sounded the hour, and they came knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, but what I now to fear? There entered 3 men, who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play. They had been accused. Information had been lodged at the police officer, and the officers, had been deputed to continue the premises. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent into the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length into his chamber. I showed them his treasures secure, undisturbed, in the enthusiasm of my confidence. I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, into the wild honesty of my perfect triumph, placing my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them I was singularly at ease. They sat while I answered cheerfully. They chatted of familiar things, but ere all, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My, my head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still had they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distant. It continued and became more and more distant. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, and it continued to gain defiantness, until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and within the heightened voice, yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes it enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, wick more vigorously, but the noise steadily increased. I rose and argued about trifles. In the heights, key within the violent gesticulately. But the noise steadied, increased. But would they not be gone? I paced the floor to four with heavy strides, as if excited to fury the observations of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what can I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting, and grated it upon the boards, and the sound rose all over and continued to increase it. It grew louder, louder, and louder. But still the man chanted pleasantly, and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, no. They heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear these hypocritic smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now again, hark, louder, louder, louder. Villains, I shrieked, dissemble no more. I meted the deed, tear up the planks. Here, here, it is the beating of his hideous heart. And there you have it. Phew. Oh man, that was intense.
Wonder who's feeling more intense, you or me?
Some of those words were still hard to pronounce though, and I tried to keep my voice down though. Man, my mouth is getting dried up already. Whew. All right, let me see what else I can find. Yeah, let me see if I can find. Um, yeah, here it is. All right. Yeah, just give me a moment. My mouth is a little dry.
Oh, no problem. I understand.
Yeah, it happens when I read read pretty fast.
Oh yeah, no, you're totally good.
All right, next we're gonna be reading The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, where I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, and where I nodded, napping, suddenly there came a tapping of some of gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Distinctly, I remember it was the bleak December, and each separate dying ember is a ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I have sought to borrow from my books to cease the sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeatedly. 'Tis some visitor entreat me entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating and no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore." But the fact that I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scared was sure I heard you. Here wide the door, darkness, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and then an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chambers turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something that my window lattice. Let me see, then, what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a fleur and flutter, in there stopped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not at least the obedience made he, not a minute stopped or stay he thee, but with man of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon the busted palace just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony build a bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern dictorum of the countenance is born. Though thy crest shall sworn and shaven thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly an ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear it discourse so plainly, though its answer little meanly, little wrathfully bore. For we cannot help agree, but no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on that pallid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul is that one word that he did outpour. Nothing further that he uttered, not a feather that he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, which is uttered its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom merciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, that his sons no burden bore, until the dirges of his hope then melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiled my sad fancy into smiling. Straight I wheeled the cushioned seat in front of bird, and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking I betook myself into linking fancy into fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, and what this grim, ungainly, ghastly got, an ominous bird of yore, meant the croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, in no syllable expression, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now bursting from my bosom's core. This and more I said divinely, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er. But those velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall pass. No. Then methought the air grew denser perfume from those unseen censer, swung by seraphim, those footfall tinkled of his truffle floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God, thy hath lent thee, by these angels he sent thee respite, and never fend from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this unkind, their seraphim, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. The prophet, said I, saint of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, within temple sent, and whatever tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunt, and all On this desert land enchanted, on this home of haunted horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore. Tell the soul with sorrow, a Latin if, within the distant Iliad, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels named Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Be that word a sign departing, bird or fiend, I shrieked obstinate, get back thee back into the tempest in the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume of token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form off from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all seeming of a demon that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. There you have it.
That was really good.
Yep. Ugh, man, my mouth is really getting tired.
Well, I don't know if you knew, but you've already been doing this for like an hour already. Time's going by fast.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and some of these are just like way too long for me to read.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I really hope everyone's enjoying this.
I know I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me see what else I can find here. And it's kind of sucks that you're not wearing a red mask.
I wish I had one, but I don't have a red
I
mask.
would I would definitely read the Mask of the Red Death
I
just to make it more fitting.
think my husband has a red mask, but I don't know where it would be.
Yeah, I possibly might be reading that one. So I'm just trying to see what else we got here.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I know there is actually one in here. I'm not sure how long it is, but it's the Black Cat.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'll be able to read the cast of Amontillado because some of the sentences that are required are in Italian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's okay. I understand.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay, 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's definitely gonna be a while. Yeah, I'll give my mouth a break for just a minute.
Yeah.
That's just me. I'm just sharing something on the chat.
Yeah, I was like, who's messaging? And I was like, oh, that's you. Yeah, I'm just working on my husband's characters, trying to level them up a little bit.
Hmm.
Trying, but hammering Gleam for so long puts me to sleep.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work.
Well, I wish I could use my own XP Valley, but only problem is because I click buttons so fast,
Hmm.
it affects my wrists, and I have early stages of carpal tunnel in both of them.
Oh yeah.
So I even have to be careful when I'm crafting in my own workshop because I do mass crafts a
Yeah.
lot. And so that's partially why I'm still playing games a lot, but I've had to be careful with Boundless because for some reason Boundless takes more effort with my wrists than
Hmm.
playing anything else, which I guess to me is goofy, but I've I've been kind of just been doing other things during the week and um I've been mining let's see. I mined I'm not actually sure how many stacks of diamonds I got this past week, but
Hmm.
I think I have almost 20 reclaims, I think.
Yeah. Sometimes my wrist will be hurting if I'm like hammering rock like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I came up with a routine cuz I before I was streaming for everyone,
Hmm.
my routine was on the weekends was mining spree, and that's all I would do for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, on Saturdays I do work, but whenever I got home or before I would go to work, I would mine. Well,
Hmm.
I've kind of taken Saturdays to kind of like relax, but I'm thinking about maybe streaming tomorrow, but not with Boundless.
Hmm.
Um well, since I've started streaming, I haven't had much pain in my wrists because I haven't been doing that constant 10-hour mining spree. But I've been running out of my metals more because I haven't been mining a whole lot, but at the same time it's worth not literally killing myself over, but just not hurting as much.
Hmm.
So during the week is when I'll do mining, and when I do it that way, um when I do it in that way before I get on any other game, unless I have plans to getting with someone, I'll get on Boundless and drink a couple speed brews. Then I'll go on to
Hmm.
something else before I switch games, get on Boundless, and do the same thing. So that's kind of been my little routine, which has kind of helped me kind of pace myself a bit better.
All right, let's see if I can start reading this one.
All right.
Luckily, luckily this one's only short. All right. Next, we will read The Mask of the Red Death. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal. The redness and the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding of the pores. This dislocation, the scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest, the band, which shut him out of the aid and from the symphony of his fellow men, and the whole seizure, progress, or termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and Segalish, but his dominions were half depolluted, populated. He summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and a light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court, and with these retired to the deep seclusions of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extension and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eretric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it in. This wall had gates of iron. The corridors have entered. They brought furnaces and massed hammers and wielded the bolts. They resolved to leave means neither an ingress to the sudden impulses of despair or of frenzy from within. The abbey amply provisioned with such precautions of the corridors may bid defiance and contagnate. The extended world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve or to think. The prince had provided all the appliances of pleasure. There were buffoons. They were impository. There were ballet dancers. There were musicians. There were beauty. There was wine. All these in security were within. Not was without was the Red Death. It was towards the close of the fifth and sixth month of his seclusion, and while the pestilence raged more fiercely aboard than the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual and magnificence. It was such a scene, that masquerade, but first let me tell you rooms in which it was held. There were 7. The imperial suite. In many palaces, however, such suites formed a line in a straight viessa, while the folding doors slide back nearly to the walls of either hand, that the view of the whole extent was scarcely impregnated. Here the case was very different, as might have been expected from the Duke's love of the bizarre. The apartments were renegated, disposed that the vision embraced but little more than one at a time. There was a sharp turn at every 20 or 30 yards, but at each turn a novel effect. To the right and the left, in the middle of each wall, a tall and narrow Gothic window looking out upon the close corridor which pursued the windings of the suite. These windows were of stained glass whose colors varied in accordance of the prevailing hue of the decorations of the chamber which it opened. That at an eastern extremity were hung, for example, the blue and vivid blue that were its windows. The second chamber was purple in its ornaments and tapestries, and here the panels were purple. The third was green throughout, and so were the casements. The fourth was furbished and lightened with orange. The fifth was white. The sixth were violet. The seventh apartment were closely shrouded in black violet tapestries that all hung all over the ceiling and down the walls, failing falling into heavy folds upon the carpet of the same material and hue. But into this chamber only the color of the windows failed to correspond with its decorations. The panels here were scarlet, a deep blood color. Now, in no one of the seven apartments were there any lamp. Amid the profusion of the golden ornaments that lay scattered to for thee or depend now from the roof, there was no light of any kind, from lamp or candle, within the suite of chambers. But in the corridors that followed the suite, there stood, the opposite to each window, a heavy tripod, bearing a brazier, a fire that protected its rays through the tinted glass and so glaringly illuminated the room. Their thrusts were produced multitude of godly and fantastic appearances. But in the western or black chamber effect of the firelight that streamed upon the dark hangings through the blood-tinted pans were ghastly to the extreme, and produced so wild a look upon the conjuresses and those who enter, that there were fewer of the company bold enough to set foot within the prestige at all. It was in this apartment also that there was stood against the western wall a gigantic clock of ebony. Its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy monstrosity clang, and when the minute hand made of the circlet of the face, and the hour was to be stricken, there came from a blazing lungs of the clock sounded which it was clear and loud and deep and extendedly musical, but of so particular note that emphasis that at each lapse of the hour the musicians of the orchestra were constrained to pause momentarily in their performance to hearken to the sound, and thus the waltzers perforce ceased their evolutions, and there were a brief disconcert of the whole gay company, and while the chimes of the clock yet ran, it was observed that the giddiest grew pale, and more aged and sedated passed their hands over their brows, as if a confused reverie or meditation. But when the echoes had fully ceased, a light laughter at once pervaded the assembly. The musicians looked at each other and smiled as their own nervousness or folly made whispering vows, each to each other, that the next chiming of the clock shall produce in them no similar emotion. And then, after the lapse of 60 minutes, which embraced 3,600 seconds of the clock of the time that flies, there came yet another chiming of the clock, at the same disconcert and tremulous of meditation as before. But in spite of all things, it was a gay and magnificent rival. The tastes of the Duke were particular. He had a fine eye for colors and effects. He disregarded the decori of the mere fashion. His plans were bold and fury, and his conceptions glowed with a barbaric luster. And there were some who would have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was necessary to hear and see and touch him to be sure that he was not. He had directed in great part the movable establishments of the seven chambers upon occasion of the great Nefertiti, and it was his own guiding taste which given character of the masqueraders. Be, be sure they were goes there. There were many glaring glitter and phantominous. Much of those what has been seen as in Herenetti. There were figures with unsuited limbs and appointments. There were delirious fancies such as the madman fashions. There were many, much of the beautiful, much of the wanton, much of the bizarre, something of the terrible, and not a little of that which might have excited disgust. To and fro in the seven chambers that stalked, in fact, multitude of dreams, and these, the dreams, writhed in and about, taking hue from the rooms, and causing the wild music of the orchestra to seem as the echo of their steps, and their strikes of the ebony clock which stands in the hall of the velvet. And then for the moment all is still, and all is silent, save the voice of the clock. The dreams are stiff frozen as they stand, but the echoes of the chime died away. They had endured but in an instant, and the light half subdued laughter floated after them as they departed. And now again the music swells, and the dreams live, and the wraith too from Thor more merrily than ever, taking hue from many tinted windows, through which stream the rays from the tripods. But to the chamber which lies so westwardly of the seven, there were now none of the maskers who venture of the night is wanting away, and there flows a router light through the blood-colored panels, in the blackness of the sable drapery appalls, and to him those fall upon the sable carpet. There comes from the near clock of ebony a muffled peal, so sonorously than any which reaches their ears to indulge in the more remote counties of the other apartments. But these other apartments so densely crowded, and then them beat the heart of life. In the rival went wordily on until the length them commenced the sounding of the midnight above the clock, and then the music ceased. Then I have told the evolutions of the waltzers were quiet, and there was an uneasy session nations of all things of before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sound by the bell of the clock. Thus it happens, perhaps, that more than the thought crept, which more of time into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who were revealed. And thus, too, it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk into silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who have found leisure to become aware of the presence of a masked figure which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. And the rumor of this new presence having heard spread itself whisperingly around, there arose at length of the whole company a buzz, or murmur, expression, or disapprobation, disprobation, and many then finally a terror of horror and of disgust. In an assembly, the phantomism, such have I painted, and may as well suppose that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masqueraded license of the night was nearly unlimited, but the figure in question had out Hilgen Herod, and had gone beyond the bounds of the prince's indefinitely decorum. There are the chords in the hearts of the most reckless which cannot be touched without emotion, even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equally just. There are matters of which no jest could be made. The whole company, indeed, seems so now deeply to feel that in the costume of bearing of the stranger neither will properly existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot the habiliments of the grave. The mask which concealed the venture was made so nearly to resemble the countenance of the stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet all this night might, if not improve, but the mad reveling around. But the mummer had gone to so far as to assemble the type of the Red Death. His ventura was dabbled in blood, and his broad brow, all within the features of the face that sprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of Prince Prospero fell upon the spectacular image, which with a slow and solemn movement, as if moved fully to sustain its role, stalked to and fro from the waltzers. He was seen to be consoled in the first moment of the first stutter either of terror and distaste, but in the next his brow reddened with rage. Who dares, he demanded hoarsely in the corridors who stand near him, who dares insult us with this blasphemy mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements. It was the eastern or blue chamber in which the prince Prospero, as he uttered these words, they ran throughout the 7 rooms loudly and clearly, for the prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become more hushed at the waving of his hand. It was the blue room where stood the prince, with the group of pale corridors by his side. At first, as he spoke, there was a silent, rushing movement of the group in the direction of the intruder, whom at the moment was also near at hand, and now the deliberate, a stately step made closer approach to the speaker, but from a certain nameless awe with which the mad assumed assumptions of the mummer had inspired the whole party, there was found none who put forth hand to seize him, so that impediment he passed within a yard of the prince's person, and while the vast assembly, as if one impulse, shrank from the centers of the room to the walk, he made his way interruptedly, but with the same solemn and measured step which had indistinguished him from the first. Through the blue chamber to the purple, through the purple to the green, through the green to the orange, though this again to the white, even thence to the violet. There the decided movement had been made to arrest him. It was then, however, that the Prince Prospero, maddened with rage and the shame of his momentary cowardice, rushed hurriedly through the 6 chambers, while none followed him on account of the deadly terror that seized upon all. He bore the thought a drawn dagger, and had approached a rapid imperiously to within the 3 or 4 feet of the retreating figure, when the latter, having attained the extremity of the violet apartment, turned suddenly and confronted his impulsor. There was a sharp cry, and the dagger dropped gleaming upon the sable carpet, which upon which instantly afterward fell prostrate in the death of Prince Prospero. Then summoning the wild courage of despair, and the throng of the revivers at once threw themselves into the black apartment, and seizing the mummer, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in an unutterable horror of finding great semblance of corpse-like mask, which they had handled with so violent a rudeness, intently by any tangible form. And now was the acknowledged of the Princess of the Red Death. He had come like a thief of the night, and by one dropped the revenues of the blood bedewed hall of their reverence, and died each of the despairing posures of his fall. And the light of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held immeasurably the dominated over all. And that's it.
Okay.
Oh man, that was whew. I thought I was gonna lose my voice there for a minute. Ugh. God, I can't even keep up. Whew, man. Oh, man, I really need a break. I'm just not sure how my mouth can actually keep this up.
No, it's okay. Hey, we could stop anytime you want. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, let me see. Let me check the book for Sleepy Hollow real quick.
All right.
Yeah, I'll continue reading uh, Sleepy Hollow. So this will be the last story for tonight.
All right. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go ahead and start.
All right.
Yep. Chapter 1. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. When the good folk of Sleepy Hollow got together around the fire on dark and windy nights, their talk often turned to the mysterious being who had been seen riding along nearby roads. He was a Hessian cavalryman who lost his head in the Revolutionary War, he once said. A cannibal that took it clean off. He is a ghost, the commander of all evil spirits in these pots, another claimed. Nobody knew for sure, but many a farmer out late one night would see this apparition go swooping past, an enormous, terrible figure mounted on a powerful stallion. He was the headless horseman. His body buried in the churchyard, said one man, who claimed to be an expert on the subject. At night he rides out into the battlefield where he was killed to look for his missing head. Towards the dawn, you will see him go tearing down through the hollow as fast as he can ride, and he has to get back to his grave before daybreak. One of those who listened more closely of these ghostly tales was Ichabod Crane. Ichabod was the town schoolmaster, and the man who thought he knew a thing or two about ghosts himself. Ichabod indeed looked something like a crane. He was tall, lanky, young man with long hands that dangle that, a mile out of his sleeves, and feet like shovels. His small head had perched on the skinny neck. He had huge ears, a long pointed nose that made his head seem like a weather vane pointing in the direction of the wind. Many said he looked like a scarecrow from some cornfield. Now, Sleepy Hollow is one of the most peaceful spots in the world. It is hidden valley along the Hudson River that's just as quiet and drowsy and dreamy as it could possibly be. Some say a German doctor practiced in witchcraft put a spell on the hollow many years ago. Others claim that it was the scene of powwows of an Indian sorcerer even before Henry Hudson sailed up the river that bear his name. This is a haunted spot, an old farmer whispered to Ichabod one night. The sky is full of meteors and shooting stars, and they're nightmares that will slip into your dreams. During the day, Ichabod didn't have time to think of ghosts and spirits. He was busy running his little one-room schoolhouse. If you went by on a warm, drowsy day, you might hear the murmuring voices of his pupils reciting their lessons, or you might hear the stringing whack of a birch rod as the schoolmaster lay on into some misbehaving students. But Ichabod didn't like having to punish his charges, as if the child was weak and cried just to look at the switch. The teacher let him off with a warning. When he had to beat a tough young lad with mischief, Ichabod assured that a lashing was for your own good. Ichabod liked his pupils. When school was out, he would even become a companion and playmate of the older boys, and he would sometimes walk the younger ones home, especially if they had a pretty older sister or their mother happens to be good cooks. He always tried hard to keep on good terms on the families of his pupils. He had no choice. His salary was very small, and his appetite was very large. What's for dinner were often his first words out of Ichabod's mouth. Though skinny, he could swallow a whole meal the way that an anaconda snake does. As part of his pay, he would room and take his meals with the farmers whose children that went to his school. He lived with each family for a week and moved on. Over the year, he made the rounds of the neighborhood, all his belongings tied into in a big cotton handkerchief. Farmers in those days sometimes thought that the schooling cost too much or that schoolmasters were just lazy drones. To make the burden lighter, as to make himself useful, Ichabod would help his hosts with their chores whenever he could. He helped the farmers to make hay, he lent a hand when they mended the fences, took the horses to water, drove cows to pasture, and cut wood for the winter fire. Let me take care of the little lambs, he would say to the mothers, and he would sit for hours with one child on his knee, at the same time using his foot to rock other the in its cradle. One of Ichabod's greatest pleasures was to pass long winter evenings sitting by a fire with the farmers' wives that they would tell tales of ghosts and goblins, that they would talk when they spun wool and roasted apples in the fireplace. That field down yonder is haunted, someone would say. There is a goblin that lives under that bridge, another would claim. I have seen him with my own eyes. Ichabod had his own tales to tell. He had read books of witchcraft, which could relate stories of omens and odd sights a person could see it in the night. He would tell dangers of comets and shooting stars. Sometimes he would scare those ignorant people by telling them the world actually turned around, and that without knowing it, they would spend half of their time upside down. It was pleasant telling these tales while sitting snug in the chimney corner. The room would glow with the heat of a crackling wood fire, and of course, no ghost dared to stick his head inside. But walking home afterwards was another story. Then all the terrors of the fables took form around the timid schoolmaster. Fearful shapes and shadows loomed along his path in the snowy evening. Seeing the light of a distant window, he wished that he was back safe inside. "Oh, keep away from me," he would exclaim. But it was the only bush covering in snow, not a ghost. And what was that? He whispered. But it was merely the sound of his own feet breaking through the snow. It got so that he would dread even to look over his shoulder in case someone was following him. But there was only one spirit that Ichabod Crane feared more than any other. That it was one of the old farmers' wives called the Gabbling Hessian of the Hollow. Sometimes very late at night, walking through some dark, shadowy glen, Ichabod would suddenly hear a blast come howling through those trees. It's only the wind, he would tell himself, but he could never completely convince himself that it wasn't the headless horseman. All right, we'll continue chapter 2 in a second. Yeah, I gotta use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
No problem. Welcome back.
Yep, I'm back.
Welcome back.
All right, we're just I was just starting the next chapter here.
Alrighty.
All right, chapter two. In addition to teaching school and helping out around the farms where he lounged, Ichabod Crane was the senior master of the neighborhood. He earned many bright coins by instructing young folks into a singing of the hymns. On Sundays, he was very proud to take his place in front of everyone at church and lead his little group of chosen singers. I think he would confide to his friends afterwards that our hymns this morning really outshone everyone, everything else about the service. Don't you agree? Certainly, we could hear his voice above everyone else's. It carried half a mile to the other side of the mill pond, and they said that on to this day, on a quiet Sunday morning, the faint notes of Ichabod Crane's high voice still echoes in the air near the old church. An educated man, Ichabod was a gentleman with taste and knowledge way beyond that of rough country men would brag. He proved to be popular with all the girls and women of that neighborhood. Whenever he came to visit, he would likely to set out extra cakes and candies and to make use of their best silver teapots. Ichabod went out of his way to encourage a good opinion of the ladies. He would talk with them after church on Sundays. He would gather grapes for them from the wild vines that outran the surrounding trees. He would recite for their amusement of all the saints carved into the gravestones in the churchyard. Here lies my wife, and let her lay, he read. She is at peace, and so am I, and all the ladies in the would giggle. He would go walking with a whole group of them down the mill pond, while a bashful country bumpkins hang on back. These young men were shy as sheep, and envied Ichabod's elegantness and easy way with the girls. The ladies thought Ichabod was a gentleman of great learning. He read to them from a history of New England witchcraft. Witches and magics were subjects that he believed in most firmly in himself. Wise and educated, that he was, Ichabod still loved weird and unusual tales. Living in Sleepy Hollow with his appetite for legends of ghosts, the more wild, the strange the story, and more likely that he would swallow it. Often after school, he would lay in the clover near the gurgling brook and read for hours about witches and goblins and ghosts. It would already be glowing dark by the time he headed for home. Every sound of nature spooked his excited mind. The cooing of the whippoorwill of the hillside, the croak of a tree toad, and the hooting of an owl, and the rustling of birds of in a bush made Ichabod's hair stand on end. The firefly scared him. A beetle would bump into him into the dark, and he would jump 10 feet. Sure that he had been touched by a witch, the only way he could make it home was to sing his nymphs, which he thought it would drive away the evil spirits, or at least drown out the noises they made. There goes Ichabod Crane, a farmer in Sleepy Hollow, would say to his wife as they sat by their house at night. I heard that scrawny school teacher's voice again. But however, many fears and fright came over Ichabod. They were merely the terrors of his own mind, though he has seen many spectres of the darkness. Even he is pursued by the devil in various shapes. Daylight always put an end to these evil spirits. His life was a safe and pleasant one, until one day his path was crossed by a being who was caused more trouble for mortal men than all the ghosts, goblins, and witches put together. A woman. Miss Van Tassel, Ichabod Crane said one evening, your voice was just marvelous tonight. You are certainly making a great progress. Ichabod had just finished giving his little group of seniors their weekly music lesson. Katrina Van Tassel, the young lady he spoke to, looked at him through her eyelashes. Thank you, Mr. Crane, she said. You are too kind. She threw him a very sweet smile, which he quickly turned. Please give my best wishes to your mother, Ichabod said, as she startled for home. I will, answered the girl. I'm sure they would have happy to have you visit sometime soon. The schoolmaster's Adam's apple moved up and down. He blushed with happiness. He kept staring down the road long after Katrina had disappeared, imagining her in his mind's eye. Katrina, he sighed to himself. Katrina Van Tassel was the only child of the most one of the most prosperous Dutch farmers of those parts. She was plump as a partridge, and as soft as rosy-cheeked as one of her father's lustrous peaches. She was famous for her beauty, and just as famous for her family's riches, which she would someday inherit. Of course, not everyone saw her through rosy cheeks glasses the way Ichabod did. That little snip, one farmer's wife said of her, why, she is a flirt and she's stuck on herself. Just look at the way she dresses. Oh, I was wondering what that noise was coming from. It's actually you.
Huh?
Your guild buffs.
Oh. Yeah, my guild buffs are probably down. When you're at a stopping point, I'll go refresh them real quick.
Yeah, I'm still. Yeah, I'll take a little break for a second.
All right, I'll go ahead and refresh my buffs then.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Oh yeah, now my face is lighting up. I can't see. Going down. Whee! There we go. Oh, I'm o- I'm okay. I just almost died in the lava. All right, there we go. I'm not bubbling now.
Because at first I thought it was me, and I was like, wait a minute, that can't be from me. So I, I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, anyway. All right. Let's see. Yeah, that little snip. The one farmer's wife said of her, "Why, she is a flirt, and she's stuck on herself. Just look at the way she dresses." It was true that Katrina liked to dress up in the bright golden jewelry that her great grandmother had brought from Europe. Her skirt was shockingly short for those days, and all better to show off the prettiest foot and ankle in the neighborhood. Ichabod had a soft spot for all women. It was so it's not surprising that he fell for such a pretty girl as Katrina, especially when he found out how rich her family was. Welcome, schoolmaster, boomed old Baltus Van Tassel when Ichabod paid the family a visit. Katrina has spoken very highly of you. Katrina's father welcomed Ichabod with the hearty slap on the back. She, she has? Ichabod stammered. Why, of course, she is by far my most talented singing student. Her voice is just like a nightingale. I declare it is. Oh, she's full of stories about you, Van Tassel said. She said you are the smartest man she have ever met. Well, I don't know about that. Very pleased with himself, Ichabod looked down at his big feet. As soon as he had a chance, he also looked around the Van Tassel farm, which stood in the fine spot on the banks of the Hudson River. The barn was as big as a church, full to overflowing with grain and hay. Rows of plump pigeons cooed from its roof. Sleek fat hogs were lounging comfortably in their pens or strolling out now and then to sniff the air. A flock of snow-white geese, along with a squad of ducks, drove lazily in the pond. Several big turkeys went gobbling around the farmyard as as if they own it. And to top it off, a magnificent rooster strutted across the yard. He flapped his wings and cried in happiness. Then he had scratched in the earth to find some grubs for his family of hens and chicks. My, what a fine farm you have, Ichabod told Katrina's father. I can't help admiring all of your animals. They are so handsome, so well fed. In fact, Ichabod's mouth was watering. Everywhere he looked, he saw not animals, but food, ham and bacon, beef and sausages. When he looked at the pond, he saw the geese in their gravy and ducks swimmingly in an onion sauce. Seeing the pigs, he imagined them roasting with apples in their mouths. He thought about the turkey stuffed and browned from the oven. He could see the rooster plucked and cooked, lying on his back and ready to be carved. You have a good eye for livestock, said the proud Nabaltus Van Tassel. Come into the house. My wife has been dying to meet you. Everything about the house that Ichabod told Ichabod of the family's wealth. Outside was harnesses and nets for taking loads of fish from the river. Huge bags of wool stood ready to be spun into yarn. Inside the walls were hung with colorful Indian corn and strings of dried apples and peaches and red peppers. "This is our best parlor," said Mrs. Van Tassel, proud to show off her home to the schoolmaster. The polished wooden shone like a mirror. In the corner she opened the cupboard so that Ichabod could admire their treasure of old silver. Then he concluded his very pleasant visit. Ichabod headed home on foot, determined that someday these rich fields, these orchards loaded with fruits, would be his. Who knows, he said to himself, I may even sell everything, invest the money in an enormous piece of land out west. They say that's where fortunes are to be made in these days. Yes, he could see it already. He and his lovely Katrina headed out on a loaded wagon for Tennessee or Kentucky, and Lord knows where. He even imagined that they would have a family of children that he would go out with. It was one thing to imagine himself courting the rich and beautiful girl, and quite another thing to win her heart. Yep, chapter 4. Whew, man. Alright, chapter 4. Ichabod had heard of the knights of the older days he went who went out to defend their ladies. They had to fight giants and dragons and do battles with sorcerers. That they had to climb stone walls and break through the iron gates into the dungeons where the poor damsels held prisoner. My task is just as difficult, the schoolmaster said to himself. I must try to win the heart of a beautiful Katrina, and she is such a fickle girl, forever changing her mind. I never know if she's serious or just toying with me. But and that wasn't all. Like the knights of old, Ichabod had foes, not dragons or giants, but flesh and blood rivals. There were many young farm boys who thought they were the ones who should marry the fair Katrina. They were jealous of each other, especially jealous of the outsider like Ichabod Crane. Ichabod knew that they would gain up on him if they tried to woo he tried to woo the girl he loved. I'm always ready for a fight, cried the most frightening of all the rivals. His name was Abraham von Bront, but his friends shortened to Brom. And because he was so strong, so powerfully built, everyone called him Brom Bones. Brom was known throughout the country as a hardy young man with dark curly hair and a handsome face. He was bold and liked his fun. You should see him ride a horse, Ichabod's friends whispered to him, and when he said something, that's it. Nobody dares to question him. And Brom Bones was a rough man, but not a bad-tempered one. He and his friends loved to have fun, and they would go around the countryside looking for good times. He would wear a fur cap of a foxtail hanging down. I those Brom Bones and his gang, and an old lady would say, when the whoops and cries of the band of ruffians woke her in the night. When someone played a prank or a fight broke out, everyone knew Brom Bones was likely to be at the bottom of it. This rogue had already picked out the girl for him. It was none other than the lovely Katrina Van Tassel. He didn't know much about getting the girl to like him. He was gruff as a bear when he approached her, but she seemed to like him anyway, at least sometimes. None of the other rivals for the love of Katrina dared to approach her when Brom Bones came to call at her house. If they saw his horse tied out front, they rode on by. His reputation as a brawler was too fierce. Ichabod recognized that it would be foolish for him to challenge Brom directly, but he took advantage of his position as Katrina's senior teacher. It gave him a perfect excuse for paying attention and visiting at her home. Katrina's parents were glad to have a schoolmaster came by. They indulged their only daughter and paid little attention when Ichabod and Katrina went out walking around the farm in the evening. They can't know what it was the two talked about as they walked, but we can be certain that Ichabod used all his learning and charm tried to win the fecal Katrina, and he surely through thought that he was making such progress. In fact, he might have imagined that his dream of marrying her and inheriting the fantastic riches was about to come true. The neighbors noticed that Brom Bones, his horse, was not seen very often tied to the fence outside the Van Tassel home anymore. That Ichabod Crane had better watch out, they said. Brom Bones is not the man to cross. Everyone knew that Brom Bones and Ichabod would leave to face each other sooner or later. Brom wanted to settle the matter like knights in armor did, by fighting Ichabod Crane face to face. I double the schoolmaster up, he said, and lay him on the shelf in his own schoolhouse. Well, Ichabod wasn't about to give him the chance to do anything like that. He never let Brom rattle him. He never rose to the challenge of his cruder and stronger rival. Brom Bones tried to provoke the schoolmaster by playing practical jokes on him. Brom and his friends would come storming past Ichabod's peaceful schoolhouse on their horses. They stopped up the chimney and made the building fill with smoke during singing lessons. They broke into the school at night and turned everything upside down. Ichabod wondered if a group of witches may have a meeting there. Always Brom always looked for a change of to embarrass Ichabod while Katrina was around. Once he took a mangy old dog and taught him to whine and howl in a very funny way. He sent this dog to sit outside during singing lessons and howl when he heard Ichabod's voice. The summer passed, and still two rivals had never thought it out. Now it was a fine autumn's afternoon. Ichabod sat at his desk in the schoolhouse, and in the drawers were all the forbidden things were taken from his pupils: half-eaten apples, pop guns, and many paper tossing balls. His students were hard at work. Ichabod had given them a taste of the birch rod not long before, so they would be on their best behavior. The schoolhouse was peaceful, but the quiet was soon broken by the arrival of a man riding a wild, half-broken colt. He came up to the schoolhouse like some important messenger. Master Crane, he announced, you are invited to a party. It is hoped that you would grace the house with the honor of your honorable presence, most honorable sir. A party, Ichabod said, but where? A party, a merry making, a festival event, said the man, full of his importance. Yes, but who invites me? The schoolmaster asked again. Why, the honorable Master Van Tassel, the messenger announced, this very evening at his honorable home. What will you? What will I tell him? I'll be there, Ichabod shouted. I'll most certainly be there. Yep, chapter 5. Phew.
You doing okay?
Yep, yep. I'm just, I think I might need to make some more iced tea.
I don't blame you. How many chapters does it have?
I'm gonna have to look again. It's been a long time since I read this book. I think it goes to. Let me see. 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's other stories in the book too, like Rip Van Winkle and some other ones that I'm not familiar with. All right, let me grab something real quick. Yeah, 'cause I think we got about 3 more chapters left.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, chapter 5. All right, children, said the schoolmaster. That'll be all for today. You can go home now. Right along. The boys looked at each other in amazement. The teacher never let them out early. He was more likely to make them stay late or at school until they finish some boring lesson. But not today. Today was a rush, rush, rush. He didn't even make them put their books away. Well, they knocked over benches in eagerness to leave. He didn't say a word. In a flash, they were out of the school and running across the village green, shouting with joy and ready to have fun. Ichabod was brushing and tidying up his best suit. Actually, it was his only suit. He spent half an hour in front of the broken mirror that hung in the schoolhouse, slicking his hair and trying to look stylish. Because he imagined himself a knight in shiny armor, he decided that he must arrive at the Van Tassel party in style. I need to borrow a horse, he told the farmer he was staying with, and of course a saddle. That that ordinary, the old Hans Ripper looked at him through narrow eyes. I guess you can take gunpowder, Van Ripper said, but you have to ride him on with a firm hand. He's full of mischief, that horse. That he has the devil in him. Ichabod assured the farmer that he was a skillful rider, though in truth he only been on a horse a few times in his life. And so, sitting on that majestic mount, he rode out on the quest and adventure. "Let's go, Gunpowder," the schoolmaster said. The horse gave him a dirty look before it began to clomp slowly down the road. The Gunpowder was a broken down workhorse. He had a neck of a goat and a head like a hammer. His tail was all matted with burrs, and he was blind in one eye. But no matter how old and wore out he looked, he was a horse full of mischief. "Onward, noble steed," Ichabod said to encourage the animal. They made a good pair. Ichabod rode with short stirrups that his knees would be up to the top of the saddle. His sharp elbows stick out like grasshoppers. He carried out his whip right up like a lance as the horse jogged along. Ichabod's arms flapped like a pair of wings. The sight of horse and rider made as they stumbled out of Van Ripper's gate was an odd one indeed. It was a beautiful autumn evening. Frost had nipped the trees, turning their leaves into brilliant orange and purple and red. Wild ducks streamed past high in the sky, heading south. Squirrels scampered around the gathering breeze, and hickory nuts for winter. Unusual, Ichabod's thoughts turned to food. "What a lovely crop of apples this year," he said to himself. "Now look at that great heap waiting for the cider press. And those pumpkins would make some tasty pies." Passing by some beehives, he couldn't help but think of the stack of steaming pancakes and Katrina's dimpled little hand pouring honey over them. It was me to the Van Tassel farm, all the way to the other side of Sleepy Hollow. Along the way, Ichabod could see the peaceful waters of the Hudson reflecting the distant mountains. By the time he approached the farm, the sun was setting in the west, turning the sky pink and gold. "Why, what a crowd!" Ichabod observed to his host. "Everyone in the region that seems to be here tonight." "Of course," said the jolly Master Van Tassel. "The more the merrier, we say. Have a good time, schoolmaster. Later we'll have dancing." Ichabod looked around the leather-faced farmers and their homemade coats and huge shoes. Their wives wore plain country outfits that they were. The younger ladies might put out a fancy ribbon or straw hat they bought from the city, and the lads tied their hair back into short ponytails, which was the fashion at the time. Here comes Brom Bones," someone shouted. Many of the party looked out to see him come thundering up on his magnificent horse, Daredevil. And this was a horse hardly even broken, who galloped with such wildness that he often came close to throwing his rider, just like the kind of animal Brom liked. Ichabod didn't pay much attention to the interest of his arrival. He spied sometimes something that interests him more, and I don't mean all the pretty girls who were there that night. No, Ichabod had seen the food. Platters were heaped with cakes that only Dutch housewives know how to bake, and there were donuts and sweet cakes and shortbread. "Help yourself, Mr. Crane," said Katrina. Katrina's the mother as she laid down the more goodies. "I don't know where to begin," Ichabod told her, though he was already made a good beginning. "It all looks so good. I should try. Should I have the apple pie, a peach pie, or a pumpkin pie?" He decided a slice of each would be the best choice. He went on, piling his plate of ham and beef and roast chicken and broiled fish and heaps of preserved peaches, plums, and pears. In fact, this wasn't a dish at the table that Ichabod didn't try. Delicious, he said, and took another mouthful. Nothing made him happier than eating. As he chewed, he rolled his eyes and chuckled to himself. One day he thought, this will be all mine. I would snap my fingers in the faces of Hans Van Ripper, and all those stingy farmers. I'll be master of this house. No more school teaching then. Eat up, said old Boltus Van Tassel. It's time for the dancing. The fiddler was a gray-haired old man who had been playing music in the region for 50 years. He ran his bow across his battered violin, nodded his head in time to the music. He stomped his foot every time a new couple in the word to start. May I have this dance? Ichabod said to the lovely Katrina. He held his breath waiting for her answer. Absolutely, she said. Ichabod's heart leaped with joy. Ichabod prided himself on his dancing as much as on his singing. When he danced, his arms and legs shook, his head and hips rolled, every part of him moved to the music. His lanky body clantered around the room as he was having a fit. Tonight he was in bliss by be dancing with his sweetheart. He rolled his eyes at her. She answers with smiles and winks. All this time, Brown Bones, jealous as he could be, sat in a corner by himself and brooded and frowned as he watched the dancers. The more Ichabod and Katrina whirled around the room, the more angry Brown Bones became. Phew. Alright, next up we're on chapter 6.
All right. I forgot I was muted. I was like, all right. I was like, oh wait.
Yeah, we're almost finished. Alright. Alright, chapter 6. When the dance was over, Ichabod joined Boltus Van Tassel and some of the older folks who were sitting out of the porch talking about the Revolutionary War, which in those days was not long over. There had been a fighting between the British and Americans near Sleepy Hollow. Everyone had a favorite story about what happened to them. I almost I almost captured a British warship all by myself, one old Dutchman said. I would have, except my gun jammed. I blocked a musket ball with my sword, said another, while the others laughed. He offered to show them the dent in his sword as proof. When each one had a chance to tell what hero he's been in the war, the talk turned to ghosts. For those, for these were people who lived near Sleepy Hollow. Everyone knew what strange and frightening things happened in that hidden spot. Has have you ever seen the woman in white? One old man asked. She haunts the hollow near Raven Rock. You'll hear her shriek on winter nights when a bad storm is coming. She died in the icy storm snow years ago. The headless horseman have been out and about lately, said another man, puffing on his pipe. I have seen him. As have I, another added. He was riding past the old church on a hill. Did you hear, said Master Van Tassel, that what happened to old Brower, his friends said they had not. He never believed in spirits and such. But one night he was riding down that road by the glen, where the trees grow so thick over the road that it's so dark even during the day. The horsemen chased down over hill and dale until they reached the bridge that crosses the stream down there. At, at that point, the horseman turned into a skeleton and flew over the trees with a clap of thunder. The old brewer tumbled headfirst into the stream. The men nodded at this new tale, a lesson to those who don't believe. I met that silly horseman once, a voice said. They all looked, and it was Brom Bones. I was riding home one night when I saw him, he continued. I offered to race him, bet I could beat him, and I would have. Daredevil can beat any horse, dead or alive. But just when we reached that bridge, the horseman pulled up and vanished into a flash of fire. Ichabod was impressed by these stories. He added some of his own, telling what he had seen of the nightly walks through Sleepy Hollow. Soon the time came for the party to break up. The farmers gathered up their families and their wagons to set off for home. You could hear them rattling through the quiet night as they went. Some of the girls went off with their boyfriends. Their laughter sounded fainter and fainter until it gradually died away. The house grew quiet. Ichabod was the last to leave. He lingered to talk to Katrina, certainly that he had won her heart. We'll never know what she said to him, but she must have given him bad news, for he soon walked out of the house, looking as sad as any man ever looked. Had the fickle Katrina been playing with him all along? Had she used him just to make Brom Bones jealous? Heaven only knows. But her answer was written on Ichabod's gloomy face. He trod out to the barn to fetch his horse, who was sound asleep. It was very late at night when Ichabod started on his somber journey home at the countryside, which had seemed so cheerful early. It was now dark and moss. The night was so still that he could hear a watchdog barking from all the way across the river. Now all the stories of ghosts and goblins that he'd been hearing came back to him. My goodness, it sure is dark out tonight, he said to himself, and just the clouds moved in to cover the stars, and it grew darker still. He was approaching the darkest, loneliest part of Sleepy Hollow. A man had been hanged from the big tree that stood beside the road. They said his ghost lingered there. As Ichabod grew closer, he began to whistle, and then someone whistled back. No, it was only the wind through those branches. For a moment he thought he saw something white in the trees, but it proved to be a place where the wood had been split by lightning. Suddenly he heard a groan, his teeth chattering in fear. But it was just two limbs of the tree rubbing against each other. Ichabod passed by, nothing happened. But up ahead, a road even more darker and spookier. He had to cross a little stream that everyone said was haunted. Nobody liked to cross that stream after dark. As Ichabod approached it, his heart began to thump. Come on, Gunpowder, he said. Let's hurry up. He gave the horse a few kicks into his ribs to make him move faster. But the horse would never do what his rider wanted. First, he banged into the fence sideways, but he plunged into plunged across the road into the bamboo brush. When he came to the stream, the stubborn horse stopped dead. Ichabod nearly went flying right over the animal's head. As he righted himself into the saddle, the schoolmaster heard a sound. He peered into the darkness, deep into the shadow of the grove. He was able to make out a black and towering shape. He couldn't see what it was, but he imagined it being a gigantic monster ready to spring on him. Alright, we're down to the last chapter. Alright, chapter 7. Ichabod's hair stood up on his head in terror. It was too late to turn and run. What should he do? Who who are you? He stammered. The being did not reply. Who's there? Ichabod repeated. No answer. Ichabod nudged the stubborn gunpowder into motion. He closed his eyes and began to sing one of his nymphs. The loud sound made him look around, and the creature had moved out into the middle of the road, even in the darkness. Ichabod could see it was the rider, the enormous figure on on a powerful black horse, as he was following along behind the schoolmaster as he went. Giddy up, Gunpowder, Ichabod said. Let's go. He hurried on, hoping to leave the strange horseman behind, but the other kept pace with him. Next, Ichabod tried slowing down to let the dark figure pass by him, but the stranger slowed down too. Ichabod tried to sing his nymphs again, but his mouth was so dry that he couldn't get the note out, which he hated. What he hated was the silence of the creature. It made not a sound, but rode along, mysteriously and menacing. They both went over the small hill, now viewing his fellow traveler against the background of the sky. Ichabod was horrified that the horseman had no head. Even worse, he was he was carrying the head that should have been on his shoulders, but in the crook of his arm. Now Ichabod gave Gunpowder more fierce kicks to keep going. They galloped down the hill as fast as the horse could run. Then the inspector came chasing right behind. Both of them were riding like the wind, throwing up stones and sparks as they went. In his mad rush to get away, Ichabod paid a little attention to where he was going. Now Ichabod discovered that Gunpowder had taken the road that leads to the bridge most famous in all the ghost stories. It was just it was the one just down the hill from the lonely churchyard where the headless horseman, said to be buried. Gunpowder was running into a mad panic, and they actually managed to gain some distance from the off-road pursuer. But just as Ichabod felt a girth come loose on his saddle, he tried to hold on to it, but the saddle slipped and then fell off. The phantom horseman behind him trampled into the dust. Oh no! Hence, Van Ripper will be furious when he finds that I lost his good saddle, Ichabod gasped. But he quickly realized that he had more terrible problems to worry about. One of them was trying to stay on Gunpowder's back. First, he slipped on to one side and then to the other. Sometimes he would jolt so hard on the horse's backbone, he thought he'd break it in two. But what was that up ahead? He saw starlight shimmering on the brook. He saw a church on the hill, and he saw a bridge. It was the same bridge where the headless horseman always disappeared. If I can make it to that bridge, thought Ichabod, I am safe. At that moment he heard the black steed panting close behind him. He imagined he could feel the horse's hot breath. Go, Gunpowder, go, he shouted. He gave the bony horse another kick. The old Gunpowder sprang into the onto the bridge, his hoofs thundering over the planks. As he reached the opposite side, Ichabod looked behind to watch the horseman vanish into the flash of fire as he was supposed to. And just at the moment he saw the goblin rise up on in his stirrups and hurled his head at him. Ichabod tried to dodge the terrible missile, but too late. It crashed into his skull. Ichabod tumbled into the dust. Gunpowder, the black steed, and the goblin rider passed by like the wind. The next day, old Gunpowder was found without his saddle, munching on grass by his master's gate. Ichabod did not appear for breakfast. Dinner hour came, but no Ichabod. The children showed up at school, but not their schoolmaster. What could have happened to Ichabod? Ichabod Crane, wondered Hans Van Ripper. And where is my saddle? His neighbors helped him look. They found his saddle trampled into the dirt. They followed the tracks of the horse's hoofs leading to the bridge by the church. On the bank of the stream they found Ichabod's hat, and close beside was a shattered pumpkin. They searched the brook and did not find the schoolmaster's body. Ichabod left only a few possessions behind: some clothes, a rusty razor, and a few books. And in the back of the book about dreams of fortune, telling them some sheets which Ichabod tried to write a poem to the fair Katrina. Hans Van Ripper burned those sheets and Ichabod's books along with them. I'll never send my children to school again, he swore. No good comes of learning to read and write. At church on Sunday, everyone was talking about Ichabod Crane and his mysterious appearance and disappearance. Folks went down to the bridge to see where the cap and pumpkin were found. They talked all over the stories they heard. Finally, they decided that had been carried off by the headless horseman. And with that, nobody troubled any more about the matter. They moved the school to another spot and hired a new schoolmaster. Years later, an older farmer claimed that Ichabod Crane was still alive. The schoolmaster had moved to a distant part of the country and kept the schoolhouse there. He had studied law and had become a lawyer, and had written for newspapers and even been elected judge. Brown Bones, who soon after the disappearance married the lovely Katrina, always seemed to know something about the matter. Whenever anyone mentioned about the pumpkin, he would burst into laughter. But the older farmers' wives were the only ones who knew best. They were certain that Ichabod had been taken away by some spirit. They often told the story around the fire on a winter's night. The deserted schoolhouse, they said, was haunted by the ghost of the poor teacher. A boy walking by there once on a summer night would sometimes hear a distant voice singing a hymn, the sound drifting sadly through the quiet of Sleepy Hollow. The end.
So what really happened to him?
No one knows. Oh, man.
How's your voice feeling?
It's getting tired.
Yeah, I bet.
Mm. Man, I've been reading for like 2 hours.
Almost 3, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like to me it felt longer.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Phew.
Yeah, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again next time when I find some other ghost stories.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's funny. I forgot next week is actually
Halloween.
no, next week is my Halloween maze,
All right.
and then in 2 weeks is Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
hard to believe.
Yeah, we actually do have some plans going on for Halloween. We're pretty soon we're gonna be having a Halloween parade in my hometown.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my hometown we always do like Halloween parades like every year.
That sounds fun. I don't
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if our town does that. I know we do Christmas parades.
Yeah, sometimes we would do other parades on different holidays. They even have one for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and uh, I can't remember if we did a Memorial Day parade or something. I can't remember. But mostly my hometown is famous for their Halloween parades.
Okay.
And I kid you not, almost every year it always rains. Like the old saying, it always rains on my parade.
Yeah, I think that's just a little too literal.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because usually around this time we get snow, and we
Hmm.
haven't gotten snow yet. We're just now getting cooler weather. Because, yeah, my
Yep.
husband just put away the air conditioning yesterday.
I
And
put
I'm
away
like,
mine.
oh, I told my husband's like, maybe you should have waited like at least a couple more weeks, just in case we get like back into the 90s. Oh,
Yeah, this weekend where I'm at is supposed to be a little bit warmer this weekend.
oh, okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what your temperature is in Wyoming.
Well, depends on the time of year. Summer varies, but this past summer we've had 110 was our highest, and we don't usually get that hot. Our winters can get as low as -30, and this is
Whew.
degrees or Fahrenheit. This
Hmm.
isn't Celsius. So, let's see what temperature. No, I don't want like alarm. I want the weather. All right. Let's see here. It is 48 degrees out.
Wow. Mine says 46.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks like our highest tomorrow's gonna be cooler than it was today. It's gonna be as high as 75. Ooh, on. Oh no. Wait. Oh, that's weekly? Oh, I don't want the weekly. I want the daily. Oh, never mind. It's gonna be 68 tomorrow.
Yeah, for me, next week's gonna be like in the 70s.
Okay. Looks like Sunday's gonna be in the 70 for me.
Hmm. Yeah, same thing for me. And the coldest is gonna be like for next Thursday, it's gonna be like 50 degrees
Oof.
and rain.
Yeah, it looks like for me it might get into the 20s on Sunday and Monday at night. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing I'm gonna finished mowing tomorrow.
Uh I won't lie, when you got to the end, I was expecting you like they found the body somewhere and the head is
Kind
missing or something like that. I'm
of like
like,
the Tim Burton version.
uh,
Yeah, because in the Tim Burton version, the horsemen would actually take heads, and nobody knows where the heads are.
huh, okay,
I
okay,
mean, it is Halloween anyway.
yeah. I
but
hope I
and
don't get no nightmares.
but the Tim Burton version, um, instead of being a school teacher, he's actually a constable
Huh?
to work with the police.
Okay.
So that's why Tim Burton changed the story a little bit. So, but yeah, when the Hessian, who played by Christopher Walken, in his backstory, that he was actually chopping off heads and during the war, and until some people were actually hunting him down, and until they wounded him, and then they actually chopped his head off. Hope and they buried him along with his head, and then in the movie they're trying to figure out why the headless horseman came back, and they didn't know that um, the horseman's head was taken. So um, Ichabod found out that someone is actually controlling the headless horseman. So that's how the story goes in the movie.
Okay.
But
Okay.
mostly, I always like the Disney version of Sleepy Hollow.
I didn't even know there was a Disney version until you mentioned it in the Discord. I was like,
Oh
what?
yeah, oh yeah, it's always a fun one because they would do like little short films that they had did when um man, what the heck's name, the wind of the willows.
Hmm.
But yeah, because I think that one, the Disney version, was actually more like the Washington Irving version of the story, that no one found the body. They say
Okay.
like the next morning, Ichabod's head was found in a close beside it a shattered pumpkin.
Okay.
Hmm. But um, but in the Disney version, people think that Ichabod was still alive and then he got married and have kids. But that's but
That's
nobody
Disney.
nobody didn't. Yeah,
It's
and,
Disney.
and nobody didn't want to believe that.
Yeah.
But they think
That's
that
the kind version of Disney.
but many people believe that he was spirited away by the headless horseman.
Gotcha.
Hmm. And even though they actually did had a TV series of Sleepy Hollow.
Not really.
Yeah, I think it was dated back in. Let me look up the date on this one. It was basically during the Civil War, and um, Ichabod actually time traveled to the future. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was. Yeah, it was. The series was actually from 2013.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And the series is really not that bad. So, let's see. Yeah, it says right here, Ichabod Crane awakens from death 250 years into the future, where he must solve the mystery dating back to the founding fathers. Due to a blood spell cast on the battlefield of the Revolutionary, the infamous Headless Horseman is revived along with Crane, and the murderous rider embarks on a bloody rampage in the present day of Sleepy Hollow. Ichabod realized that he must act quickly, for the Headless Horseman is only the first of the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Huh.
So that's why the TV series had a different story.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Hmm. But yeah, it's actually pretty good though. They actually have some really interesting villains in the series, which I actually do have the book of the I think it was the villains of Sleepy Hollow. I think I know I have the book somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. I found it. Yeah, Sleepy Hollow creating heroes, demons, and monsters. So I'll be right back real quick.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, welcome back.
All right, let's see what the book says. But yeah, in this book here, it tells like all of the behind the scenes stuff on the characters and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
hmm And even the who played the characters. Let me see. I should stay on here. Yeah, Tom Minson, who played Ichabod Crane. See who else?
Oh, ugh. Apparently, someone messaged me. Oh,
Yeah, there's even one here for um, Katrina Van Tassel in here too. But I think she goes by. See if I can find it here, because I know she's in the book too. Yep. Instead of Van Tassel, it's actually Katrina Crane.
mm.
Yep. So in the series that they're married.
Oh, okay.
hmm And they actually had a son too. And let's see, the headless horseman of death.
Oh, sorry. I fell.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see, what else they have here. And even in one of the episodes, that they actually had a guy to play Benjamin Franklin in the series.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, one of my favorite villains that they actually added in the series was the Sandman.
Sandman?
hmm Yeah, he's actually in here.
Huh.
Let's see if I can find it. Um, no, that's the Golem.
Mr. Sandman. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 da, 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 da. Oh, it got 18 reclaims.
No, that's not it.
Oops.
Because luckily in the book they got like tons of pictures in here. Here it is. But the names that the Sandman actually had a name that is foreign, but I can't pronounce it. But it just goes by the Sandman.
Oh, okay.
hmm Oh, uh, oh yeah, they even had the Pied Piper, which I completely forgot about that one, and the Weeping Lady, and the Wendigo, Dingo. This one, um, the legend of that one is actually real interesting.
How so?
Um, the Wendigo. That's let's see. Here we go. Yeah, it says right here that it's a mythical, mythological uh, cannibalism monster in spiritual traditions in North America. Um, Algonian, I can't pronounce it, as speaking tribes. It is associated with winter and describe either a fearsome beast that's um, but yeah, it's like it's a strange one.
Okay.
but but many people think that it has always had different forms of it. Like um, the head would be like a deer skull. But there have been many other stories about it.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what else is in here.
Yeah. Get away from me. Go.
Oh
Shoot.
yeah, and I forgot that the succubus is in the book too, which was I don't know what episode that one is. Hmm. Must be in the second season or something. Season 2, episode 8, I think. And oh yeah, the Gorgon. And zombie redcoats. I completely forgot about that one. So yeah, that's it's just mostly like in the series like about time travels to just trying to get rid of the headless horseman,
Huh.
along with the help of the police.
Okay.
hmm It only ran for like 4 seasons
Well,
because of
that's a pretty good decent time.
yeah, there was a reason why they canceled it.
Why?
It says right here, although the cast and crew had never cited some actresses exit as a reason behind the show's cancellation, season season 4 definitely fell into the abyss and suffered from low ratings and poor reviews. The
Hmm.
series' viewership tanked from its 10 million views and its debut by 2 million by the end of the fourth season.
Oh, oh.
Yeah, so it didn't run long. It was only from 2013 to 2017, I think.
Oh, okay.
hmm Even though there was actually a real life Ichabod Crane, but um, he was actually a war soldier.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see if I can find see if I can find it here.
Yeah, I think next week before I do my maze event, I'm gonna have to take a
hmm
nap. Because I feel like every weekend I've been streaming, I've been just like really tired.
hmm
I've been struggling to stay awake.
Yeah, here it is right here. The story of the real Ichabod Crane. He was a real military officer who served in the U.S. Marine Corps and the U.S. Army during the War of 1812. He was born in Elizabethtown, New Jersey in 1787 and died in 1857. Crane was contemporary of Irving and may have served with him in Fort Pike and Sackett's the harbor in New York in 1814. Irving may have known of Crane, but he never said that Crane was an inspiration of the character of Ichabod Crane in Sleepy Hollow.
Hmm.
So yeah, he was actually. So I thought it was real interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can feel Sleepy Hollow. Let's see. Yeah, here's actually a link here I'll send to you. It's about the legend of Sleepy Hollow, the hidden history of an American ghost story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about like the real story before and it became like um, the story that Washington Irving actually wrote.
Oh,
And
okay.
it says right here, um, yeah, it says something right here. If Irving was inspired by any real revolutionary history at all, the most likely nameless battle in which Irving's horsemen may have met his demise might in fact be the War of the White Plains, in which British General William Howe defeated Washington's troops on October 28th, 1776, conventional, which was actually close to Halloween.
Hmm. How fitting.
Yep. So yeah, it's actually real something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and send this to you.
All right.
I gotta go ahead and get off because my mouth is like, bleh. Like I need a
Yeah,
break.
you're good. I'm gonna be probably getting off here soon myself. I'm just going through my reclaims and then I'm probably gonna hop off because I've been trying to stay awake for the past 2 hours.
Yeah. Alrighty. I
And
hope
thanks
everybody really
again.
enjoyed. Yep. And I really hope everyone enjoyed my story time. But until next time, you all have a good night and happy Halloween.
Oh, that was great. I apologize. I'm quite happy. I will say I am quite happy for all the goodies I got on this round. All right, so that's why. I was like, kind of. There we go. All right, so we got almost 8. Yeah, we almost got 8 smart stacks. And I plan on actually going mining for diamonds for one more week. Even got quite a bit of that stuff too. Cool. And there we go. That's all the reclaims. Yeah, I wanted to at least get the reclaims done. Alright. And I want to give a thank you for whoever donated some art on my Phantom World and on uh, the Opera House. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for that. Oh boy. Ah, just stuck my finger in my eye. Ugh. Yeah, I can't think of anything that I need to do today. I think I'm good. Yeah. So, thanks again, everyone, for stopping by, watching, and hearing us have a good time. I apologize. I've been walking around quite a bit just because I really was falling asleep. Not because anybody was boring. It's just, I was just tired. So, hopefully, hopefully, I'm not going to be falling asleep when I do the Halloween maze next week. That's because those can last a while. Anywhere to an hour, two, depending on how many people we have. If we don't have a whole lot of people, it could turn into a 3-hour event. We've had that before. Um, oh, JJ's on. So, yeah. Sorry. Okay. But yeah, until then, you all have a wonderful night. Thank you again for watching. And I hope you guys enjoyed story time. It's my first time hosting anything like that. So, uh, hopefully, for those who didn't watch it live, you get to enjoy it, um, you know, anytime in the future when you're watching it. But yeah, I'll I'll see what tomorrow brings. I may stream tomorrow. Um, I'll have to see. I'll have to see what tomorrow brings. So yeah, until then, you will have a wonderful weekend, and as always, stay boundless.